Hello and welcome to Cutting to the Bull in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. I'm Ben, and this week I'm joined by Gaz.
Hello.
And Mike.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about the Voyage of the Damned, better known as the Voyage of the Second Russian Pacific Squadron. This may sound heavy, listener, right, but this is a military blunder that's so comedic, so accident-prone, and so farcical, it's actually very funny.
Do many people die, however?
At the end. But we won't go into that too
Spoilers.
much because I'm more interested in the voyage.
Right, how we get there.
And so before we do that, we'll just thank some new and returning listeners. Bucharest in Romania, Frankfurt am Main in Germany, Sydney in Australia, the Dam itself, Amsterdam.
Hey! There's one stoned fucker listening to us talk about Satanism or aliens or something. I'm sorry, mate. I hope you got home safely. He might have just chucked himself in the canal.
Just take the tinfoil hat off, step inside.
Probably an epidemic. Our listeners jumping in the canal.
That's only happened to 4 of them. I wouldn't say it's an epidemic. Whitstable in the UK, New Windsor in the US, Staten Island in the US, Berlin in Germany, Preenville in America, Modesto in America, Forest City, I'm guessing that's named after Nottingham Forest, Mike.
Is that where all retired
In the US,
players?
yeah, well, that's where they all go.
Or it's a city in a forest.
I was trying to big your team up.
Well, it could be, who knows?
London in the US, Ashburn in the US, and New York in the US. Weirdly, 6 plays in Russia this week.
I was in Nottingham today. I didn't go past the ground though, Mike, but all I kept thinking about was that story Roy Keane told about where he got thrown through a window. Did you hear
I've
that?
not heard this one.
No.
He was young, playing for Forest, some sort of argument in a restaurant, thrown through a window, but he was proud because he said, I landed there like a Western movie, covered in glass. I still had my bottle in my hand. When I was driving around thinking, somewhere around here,
Yeah.
old Keane, through a window.
Oh
Right.
man, I wonder which pub it was.
Yeah, I'd love to
I
know.
want to go for a pint there and sit by the window.
So, you need to explain to me, sorry, but before we start, because you're the history guys, and as has been documented on the podcast in the past, my knowledge of history is patchy.
Let's say patchy. We'll go with patchy.
Extremely patchy. I don't know when the fuck anything was. So the Russo-Japanese War.
Yes.
When the fuck were Russia and Japan at war?
Well, this event takes place in 1903,
Okay, that's later than I thought you were going to say.
and the sort of war's at 1901-ish, 1900, 1901-ish.
Just after the Victorian era.
What were they bothered about with each other?
Russia wanted a Pacific port. It wanted what they call a warm water port.
Right.
And it's always had a bit of colonial ambition, Russia.
Mm.
And the Japanese
Jealous of us.
and the Japanese are also like starting to industrialise now.
And they get a bit colonial.
They get a bit colonial later on, but they decide they would like this port as well, and they'd also like this bit of China the Russians are trying to have.
Right.
Because you remember, Russia's that big.
Mm.
It actually borders
It does border
China.
China and Japan, obviously.
I've seen
as well,
videos of
but-
like Indian soldiers and Chinese soldiers
Yeah.
fighting at a border,
Yeah.
like recent. So yeah, it all like we don't realise, do we, when like all that area of the world coalesces. Like,
It does,
like,
yeah.
So they were fighting 120 odd years ago over a little port.
So we've got battleships at this point, you know, the big coal-burning,
They're coal-powered.
coal-powered,
100
big
like-
gun
like
battleships covered in
Popeye,
steel.
Like, boop, boop. And look at
I guess so.
a bit of a wheel.
But no, we're past the wheel at this point.
You ever seen the Popeye film?
Yeah.
Robert Williams?
It's so good. What happened to that? It's weird as fuck, but it's
It's
good.
so
You ever
weird.
seen it, Ben?
When I was a child, I've never gone back to it.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It is
but-
very strange.
Not that big a fan of Robin Williams.
Well,
I remember the songs in it are fucking awful. It's meant to be a musical, isn't it?
Oh, that's right.
He's got his big plastic like forearms.
Yeah.
He just mumbles with that corn pipe in his mouth.
So he would have been in this, wouldn't he? Because he was set in the sort of
Yeah.
20s. Well, no,
Well,
a bit late,
Yeah.
No, he's
So-
later than that.
So they got
Early Popeye adventures when he was a teenager,
You know,
maybe.
you know the first steel battleships that came out with the turrets and the big guns. This is this era.
So they've got right. It's 120 years ago, basically 125, 4 years ago.
10 years before Titanic.
10
For
years
help.
before Titanic, right? So, what sort of position are Russia and Japan in? Are they both like emerging?
Russia's absolutely backward.
Yeah, but they want to have an empire.
Agricultural society, aren't they?
Still ruled by the Tsar.
Yeah.
Are they like strong and?
They
taking
think
over
they're
places?
strong. They got. It's just always the same story with Russia. You got loads of shit, but most of it's not good.
Made very badly.
And the Japanese are an emerging industrial power. You know the end of The Last Samurai,
Yeah.
right? When the Japanese, they got the modern rifles and the
Love that
cannons.
film, yeah, all the
Yeah.
new shit's coming in.
It's like this is what Japan's aiming for. It wants to catch up with the West, so therefore it wants to start having colonies. It wants to start having a big navy. And Britain is at this point Japan's mate because we're building all their ships for them.
Okay, so we've got an interest in this as well.
We have absolutely, yeah, totally. Because,
I've caught up
but there's also massive racism against the Japanese
from the Russians or
from
us,
everybody.
From everyone. Right.
The West does not look kindly upon Japanese people.
Why is that then?
They're seen as being a bit.
Like
I'm not going to use the terminology of the time on the podcast, but you can go and check it out, listeners. They were described as, you know, let's say
Less evolved.
yellow subhumans, that kind of thing.
Okay, so
You know in The Simpsons when Mr. Burns like, oh, the Japanese, those sandal-wearing goldfish tenders, they'll never catch us up. He says that in The Simpsons, so I can say it. That's right. It's that kind of thing.
that generation literally saw them as like subhuman.
Subhuman.
But they're like building fucking ships and like being. You know,
Well, what they did is they wanted to
awesome.
industrialise really fast, so they sent people out to all the countries that did something good that a major power does. So Germany, they sent a bloke to Germany to say, how do they train their army? They've got the best army in Europe. How do we get like that? They sent a guy to Britain.
Best navy.
Best navy. How do we get a navy like yours? And we're like, well, you can pay us some money and we'll build the ships for you until you catch up.
just lace my palm with silver.
Because it takes like a lot of technology to build these battleships. You've got to have the ports, you've got to have facilities, you've got to have materials, the
and
know-how,
the people who can do it.
the people that can do it.
It's all skilled.
Yeah.
No mechanical.
It's
I mean,
everything's
there'd have been
mechanical on
hoists
these
and
fucking
that
things.
sort of
you know?
mechanical.
Yeah, you need
help,
the
but-
equipment to build them. You need the skills to build them, and that takes time to catch up to. So the British have got a very lucrative deal with the Japanese when we're building all their ships.
And of course, the Russians, because of the racism as well, they thought that it was an
better
easy,
than
Just
them.
an
walk
easy.
all over
Yeah.
and we'll slap these silly fools.
God, they're
about
very
it.
new. They're a new.
So we,
fucking-
once again, even 120 years ago, we're at a proxy war with Russia through Japan.
Yes,
Nothing fucking changes, does it?
No. Does it fuck?
we're Japan's naval arms dealer. Yeah,
We're now supplying the Ukraine with all sorts of mad shit,
Yep.
aren't we?
yep.
If nothing fucking changes, does it? It's
Nope.
madness.
No one's ever really like the Russians, I guess.
No, it's a military-industrial complex, isn't it?
Well,
It needs feeding.
What do you think that's fit? Because Russia's so massive, everyone's just like, if they ever do become a.
If they ever get their
waiting
shit
giant,
together,
if they had the technical prowess of the US, we'd all be like a bit more Russian, wouldn't we? Maybe.
they got their shit together. But the phrase "things and then things got worse" is pretty much attributed to Russia,
And especially this tale.
and especially this tale.
So I'm caught up. Right, thank you very much. See, that's what I love about you two. You could catch me up on my very, very patchy.
So, the Russo-Japanese War was by far the most humiliating defeat the Russian Empire ever suffered, with the Battle of Tsushima being the most celebrated battle of the entire conflict. This was the battle that destroyed the morale of the Russian Navy and the Imperial military in general. And this defeat, one of many Russia suffered, more or less ended whatever hopes the Imperial Court of securing a victory over the Japanese, and as well showed just how weak the Russian Empire become in recent years. But the Battle of Tsushima was only the final act in an ill-fated voyage that was poorly planned and conceived in a desperate attempt to relieve the Russian fleet trapped in the Pacific. So the port the Japanese are trying to take, the Russian First Pacific Squadron is trapped in there, and it's surrounded by hills, and the Russians are like, those Japanese people, they cannot carry guns up the hill to fire on the fleet. And guess what the Japanese did? Carried guns up the hill to fire on the fleet.
They're absolute fucking badasses.
And then they just kind of bombarded the port into surrender. But they're holding out. When this voyage sets out, the Russians are holding out.
Right.
So the voyage of the Russian Second Pacific Squadron would become a massive embarrassment for the Imperial Court of Russia.
What consisted of this squadron?
It was the Baltic fleet. Because the Russians have got 3 fleets: the Baltic, the Black Sea, and the Pacific. The Baltic is up in the north bit of Russia.
Baltic up there.
There's Baltic up there. It's cold.
Brass monkeys.
It's it's a sea that comes out past Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and into the North Sea. And that fleet, because it's not very deep, the ships don't have to be that stable. So they build a lot of them with this design called a tumble down, which they nicked off France, which was a really bad design and was really unstable in rough seas and deep sea.
Well, it is French.
Yeah, well, everyone was
Mate,
experimenting.
I drive a French van, for fuck's sake, don't get me started.
Everybody was
I
experimenting
little
with
videos.
stuff.
Fucking banana shelf. Honestly, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. You pull the sun visor down and there's a massive gap to the right. Fucking hell! So my left eye's alright, but my right one's fucked.
Did you know in France everyone wears a right eye patch when they're driving?
Did no one test this? You put your cup in the cup holder, it's at a 45-degree angle and fucking spills. Every time you accelerate, your coffee pisses all over the seats. Did no one test it? What's wrong with you, baguette munching bastards?
Are you sure it's just not a baguette holder?
It's fucked. The whole thing is fucked.
A croissant holder. That's why it's curved back, because the croissant curves.
They just don't give a fuck.
You just
They don't
lean
know
down
what
and
they're
take a
doing.
bite.
Nothing makes sense in those vans. Nothing. Nothing's where it should be.
Well, nothing made sense with their battleships either.
Exactly. What's wrong with them? We just got to... What's that French saying? Laissez-faire or something.
Yeah,
Like they just don't give a fuck. Just put it together. There you go, floating. Does it drive? It drives. Does it hold the cup? Yeah, but it pisses the liquid. Hey, don't hold the cup. They're fucking mad. As if I'd get on a French fucking battleship.
Well, the Russians have nicked a load of designs off them anyway.
Oh god, they're fucked.
There was some modern ones that were Russian built, and they're just cruisers and torpedo boats, but it's Russian designed. It's the midst of the height of Russian Tsarist corruption, so you know that they're not very good.
Mate, in the most recent Putin videos, he's in front of a 1980s fax machine. Imagine what the fuck they were like 120 years ago.
This voyage of the Russian Second Pacific Squadron will become a massive embarrassment and would be the source for a number of major international incidents and diplomatic tensions between Russia and other European powers. They nearly start wars with the other 4 major European powers that have got a navy during this voyage.
Just driving through their land, basically.
Just-
I know. The sea.
You'll see. You'll see.
Oh, okay.
It also has become a case study on how not to conduct a prolonged naval operation for many aspiring commanders. The problem with the port in the east is that the entrance to it was very shallow, so most of the larger ships are trapped until the tide comes in. So they can't even dig the fucking harbour out.
I'm just sitting there.
And nor did it help that most of the commanders in the squadron really had no business commanding the vessels in any sort of fight. And by mid-April 1904, to apologise, I said 1903 earlier, Japanese vessels were now threatening to cut off Port Arthur, while the number of Russian vessels, including some pretty modern battleships, were either heavily damaged or currently resting on the sea floor. And what they sent out their top Vice Admiral Stefan Makarov, most capable guy in the Russian Navy, and he was killed when his flagship struck a mine and exploded when he attempted to escape the fleet. He was decapitated.
That's like in Transformers the movie, when the fucking Optimus Prime, the baddest man you've got, turns up. You're like, yes, we're saved. And like 10 minutes later,
His head's blown off.
He's just fucking dead. Oh fuck!
Hang on, so, this port, this is the Russian port they can't even get out of.
They can't even get out of this one in the Pacific. This is why they're sending the Second Pacific. Go and get them, go and relieve them.
Oh man.
So you're the reinforcements, get out there, show them Japanese who are boss.
One squadron's already fucked.
And the others...
And they're sending in a second one, full
Yeah.
pelt, like, go on!
From a bunch of ships that aren't designed to sail 18,000 miles around the globe.
And then your commander, the only one that knows what he's doing, gets
His
blown up by a
fucking head's
mine.
gone!
But they do send the second best admiral with this
Oh,
one.
here he goes.
Right.
Here comes Rodimus Prime.
So with the Pacific Fleet now trapped, and Tsar Nicholas II, the one who got shot by the people, let's say,
Right.
and he decided to send relief. And it has got 2 other fleets, so they want to assemble a new fleet, sail them over 18,000 miles to fight the Japanese in their own turf, and rescue the trapped fleets in the Pacific. Now at this point, Russia is not the most exactly the most popular nation in Europe. Nothing's really changed there, especially with the British, because we thought they were trying to sort of poach, encroach us in India and things like that.
Yeah, get the fuck off
The
our
Middle
turf
East.
that we stole.
Yeah, and they did not have any bases of their own where a fleet of this size could be refuelled. Remember, they're all on coal.
Oh shit. Yeah.
This is why the British Empire was so successful. This is why the Falklands ended up being British. It's a coaling station. You can go there, refill, off you fuck.
Yeah. But they
That's
don't
why we
know
end up
where
with
to
these-
refill. Did they not think this through? How
No,
do you
they-
think they'd get home?
They're going to do it. They're going to have fleet. They've chartered a bunch of the Hamburg America line
Right.
of ferries, because the Germans are the only ones that kind of put up with the Russians,
Okay.
to supply them with the shittest coal they can find and refuel them at sea, which has never been done before.
Right.
Never been done.
So don't just bump the boats with the coal on.
No.
You don't even have to do that.
No.
Okay.
It gets worse than that, to be fair. Also, the vast majority of the Russian fleet were made up of vessels that were never designed for open ocean voyages, let alone in tropical climates, and not to mention that most of the ships that would be sent were rather long in the tooth, so they're old and obsolete, most of them.
Yeah.
There's like 4 or 5 modern ships, a few modern smaller ships, and the rest is ad hoc at best, old and improvised, and they'd be basically outclassed by the British supplied warships the Japanese Imperial Navy had acquired the year prior.
Is this a bit like, Ben? Was it Dunkirk? What was it where loads of our just amateur private sailor people went over to get our boys?
That was
from France?
Dunkirk,
Dunkirk, right? But that was literally over a channel.
That was over the 22 miles of the channel.
Right. So this is the same thing, but they decided to go to the other side of the world.
Yes. They have got modern warships. Some of these boats are like aristocrat pleasure yachts. They bolt some guns onto. One of them actually tips over and capsizes because the guns are too heavy
You
on the
can't
top.
fight the Japanese in a pleasure cruiser. Are you mad?
They get fishing boats, they stick some guns on them just to make the numbers up, Well, as long as they've got a...
They will fucking, if they accidentally dishonour their superior, they will fucking gut themselves in front of him and be pleased about it. And you go in there in a pleasure cruiser,
with some guns bolted to it.
you're fucked.
And yeah, they would be tasked with sailing around the world to rescue the trapped Russian fleets. And now I know what you're thinking, with all these concerns. Why did the Russians just go through this plan? And the answer is quite simple. Everyone who said it was a bad idea was completely ignored. And they are literally sailing around Africa as well.
Nothing changes. Why have they gone that way? I
2
suppose it's the
reasons.
only way. Oh, you can't go around the top.
There
can
is
you?
the fear from the Russians that they're going to get ambushed somewhere along the route, and we're looking at a world map.
Right.
There's your Suez Canal.
Right.
There's your narrow strait. The Japanese conceivably could be here waiting for you.
Can you explain to me, Ben? Sorry, is the red line where they could have gone?
Yes.
But the blue line is where they did go.
Yes. So they went all around the coast of Africa.
We have a local saying in Shropshire. If somebody takes a long time to tell you a story, you say, he goes around the Wrekin, doesn't he?
Yes.
Wrekin being a local mountain, very large hill. But yeah, we're looking at this map, listener, and it's like they could have gone, pretty straight, direct. I mean, I can see how that's going to be treacherous. I can see how that might be treacherous going through those tight. You know, you're on a lot of people's seafronts there, aren't you? The red line.
Mainly to get through the Mediterranean, you're going to go past Gibraltar, which is owned by the Brits, and that's why we still own it today. Who controls Gibraltar controls the Med.
Right.
The Suez Canal is British owned too.
Yeah.
Come on!
Because we're at the peak of empire.
We're the best.
We're at the peak of empire here. But then again, where they're sailing around Africa, most of that's ours too.
Right.
Apart from Madagascar, which is French.
But it's like taking 10 minutes or like 6 hours, isn't it? I know it's not going to be 10 minutes to red line. I'm just trying to show the difference in scale of the blue route to the red route is mad.
Yeah.
But if it was safest, but if you had the right boats, I would agree. Go the long way round.
Yeah, but they haven't.
No.
And they've all...
Or enough fuel.
Yeah, none of that. So to lead this force, the Tsar chose Rear Admiral Zinovy Rochesevsky, I think I've got that right, to command the Second Pacific Squadron. He's a seasoned veteran of the Russo-Ottoman War, so he'd fought the war the Russians had fought with the Turks.
Right.
And was possibly the best choice to lead the force. Although not as political as Admiral Makarov, he was notorious for his short temper and would actually attack officers who disappointed him in any way. He would beat them up.
He's Darth Vader.
He'd beat up his enlisted men. He'd beat up his officers if they fucked up. He's also drunk a lot and has an incredibly foul mouth.
That tracks.
But he wasn't corrupt.
Which was very rare at the time because all the officers were chosen because of their mates at court.
Right.
And he was remarkably fair. He only kicked the shit out of you if you fucked up.
Yeah.
He did actually fight to get sailors like better wages and conditions.
Yeah.
So his guys actually did like him. And the fact that his ships under his command were usually well disciplined and known for being ready for combat in a moment's notice. So he's good. Well, they think he is.
Well, he looks good. Look at him.
Look at that moustache and look at that beard.
I wouldn't... Oh, no, you could see him going into a modern day pub and clearing it out, can't you, with his fist?
Yes, I can actually, yeah.
Yeah, wow. What a guy.
It also didn't hurt that Kaiser Wilhelm, you know the Kaiser, Germany, the one that started the First World War off.
Oh yeah, him.
He gave him high praise during his visit to Russia, so Rochesevsky was the best choice the Tsar could have made. To be fair, the best of what's left, unfortunately, then it got worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Vessels from the Baltic Fleet were being assembled for the long voyage was to come, and on paper it looked promising. 42 ships, including 11 battleships and 9 cruisers, would make up the main force while being supported by a number of destroyers, gunboats and support ships. So yeah, very, very powerful, isn't it?
Sounds good, but...
Sounds good on paper.
Yeah.
But the ocean's
And
vast beyond your imagination.
it is.
And if these vessels aren't actually used to going out on the open ocean...
No, they're not really meant to. No.
50 foot
All of a sudden
waves.
it doesn't look so good, does it?
And Russia's got no bases. It's got to contract ships from the Hamburg America line to deliver and resupply the fleet with coal at sea, and that's never been done on such a large scale. And it was quite dangerous in port. Coal's quite flammable.
You got to
Coal dust
admire them.
especially.
You got to admire the way they weren't going to leave their boys behind, though. In a way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're entirely unsuitable to go and get them back, and everything's fucked already.
Yeah.
But at least they're like, we'll go and get. It's only because, like you said, though, it's because they thought they'd be able to go there and just
Smash 'em?
spank these
Yeah.
stupid, silly subhumans.
No,
You silly.
someone with
fuckers.
a brain would have said, well, why don't we have another squadron close by to help in case they get in difficulty? Send the 2 out, the one attacks, the other one's in reserve.
I hate to be harsh, but I would have gone, nah, fuck them. They beached themselves, they fucked up.
But you're also, at the same time, you're the Russian Empire,
Go.
and these are these little upstart Japanese.
You don't want that
They're
egg on your
5 foot
face.
nothing. Look at them. They were uncivilized
I
10 years
suppose
ago.
That's it.
At this point as well, they didn't have access to samurai films, kung
No,
fu films.
no, none of
They
that.
had no idea just how horrendously badass these people are.
Hardcore the Japanese are.
Yeah, they might be short in stature, but they will fuck.
So it was
You
they've been
fuck.
undone by their hubris, haven't they?
Yeah. As Dan Carlin said, the Japanese are just like everyone else, only more so.
Yeah, that's a good quote. I fucking
Actually, if you ever get the
love
chance, listen to his 5-6 part Pacific War series he did. It's fucking
that.
amazing.
I haven't done that one, but I've done his World War
One.
1 and 2, I think.
Yeah, they were great too.
That's what got me into him, because he was on Joe Rogan. Yeah. He's amazing, isn't he?
He's fantastic. Love Dan Carlin. Wonder if he'll come on our podcast.
Weird, isn't it? How I didn't give a shit when I was a teenager, but I now find it like absolutely fascinating, the history. I suppose that's just getting mature, isn't it?
That's it.
And older.
So you like trains, I like battleships.
Fair play.
You know, the engineering fascinates me.
It's even more, to be fair, like I think we've talked on and off air about, like, all three of us have a bit of a fear of the deep.
Oh yeah.
Open ocean. I have no desire. It's the most horrific. It's as scary as deep space to me. Fuck that. Like, to build these things that work in them conditions, but then to not even really know till you go out there. Some fucker, think about this. You know them giant, like when you're out on the deep sea, like them fishing trawlers and that.
Yeah.
They're being smashed by like 60-foot waves, and some fucker in our history built the first boat without knowing will this
work,
and did it. Can you fucking hell?
Balls of steel.
It's balls, isn't it?
Raise a glass to them fucking people in our past, man. God love you.
I mean,
swig a beer for the sailing, man.
So, as I said, most of the vessels weren't of a great design. The tumble home design, unstable in rough seas. That wasn't a problem in the Baltic. It's quite calm. The Atlantic's quite rough.
Yeah.
And some of the vessels were also grossly overweight, and the position of the secondary armament, which these are built into the hull, was dangerously close to the waterline.
Oh, you don't want that.
So you got rough seas.
So when you're in shallow, it's on the right level. Like in the picture I'm just looking at now. Imagine, listener, just a normal battleship where you would imagine the guns to be, sort of along the side,
the front,
sort of above the sea, like, you know. But when your ship's going up and down and the waves are crashing over all around you, and
water's coming in,
down the cannons, down the holes, down everything.
And so they had to get them prepped to go. And so they're trying to put armour on stuff and beef up the ships they've got.
Making them heavier.
Yeah. The quality of work being done on some of the ships was questionable at best, as the battleship Oyul sank in harbour while being refitted for the voyage. So apparently, someone removed some sheeting from the hull without realising that a ship needs its hull intact so it can stay afloat. Wet stuff on the outside of the boat, please. And he just went home for the day. And the ship sank overnight, so they had to refloat it.
Imagine taking your ship to the equivalent of a ship mechanic. Will you sort that out for me? Yeah, no worries, leave it here. Come back 2 days. You come back, it's on the fucking bottom of the sea.
Yep.
You take your car to a mechanic, sort that, you walk away and you hear it explode. That's the equivalent. Your boat's in the sea.
And he just
it's the exact opposite of fixing it.
He just takes some armour plating off the hull, leaves a bit of a hole, and fucks off home for the day. That's the best of it. He just goes over. Water's coming in. That's someone else's problem, not mine.
I take the plate, takes the plate off, and I drink the vodka. Many vodka.
You silly bastard. So that one didn't make it.
What they did, they refloated it and sent it off.
Imagine being on that one that's been refloated, that stinks and it's wet, and you're like, oh, this is a good sign.
Yeah.
Jesus
this ship's
Christ,
only sank once.
It's still covered in green shit everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine it, they refloated it. Imagine being fucking... What's it called? Stationed or whatever? Like, you're
posted.
That's your boat. Well, fuck off. I seen that on the... No, it'll be alright.
It's dead.
You can't stand up because of the green slime
It's a bit slippery.
Because even if it just went down for a bit, they didn't get it straight back up. It
takes days, It takes weeks, maybe.
You'll never properly clean that or get the fucking water out of it. I bet that one went down.
You're going to open a cupboard door and a fish is going to fall out.
Crab. Giant crab.
Also, Admiral Roshevsky also informed the Tsar, has also informed that the Tsar allocated only enough ammunition for the upcoming battle, and only enough for the battle. There's no chance to train the gun crews.
Oh, God.
And a fact that was made worse, seeing the majority of the crews were nothing more than uneducated conscripts that mostly came from landlocked regions of Russia and had never seen the ocean until now. See, there's a reason coastal towns have a sailing tradition. These are the people you want to recruit in the Navy. They know how boats work.
Sounds like the Mongolian Navy.
I know you like to take
Anyone
the
can swim.
out of the Navy.
7.
when it comes to the army hierarchy, but in these times, in these days, sailors, those people, they were the next level of like nuts people. They were, come on.
Mate, I don't know, battleships at this point, they've got watertight compartments.
It's still
They're
going
not
on the
designed.
sea.
These things are actually incredibly hard to sink. Battleships at this point, because they've got more armour than anything else. And it's all still very much in the testing phase.
Well, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, can we not just respect the fact
yeah,
that 120
totally.
years ago, without the radar, satellite, nothing, like the old school everything, and you're just relying on people's engineering, like a load of blokes put this together in a factory, and I'm on it now. In the middle of the day, they're just mad on another level. But nuts.
Yes,
And we owe it to them.
and then you're crewing it though with people that have never seen the sea.
That's what I'm saying. That was my point. Sorry, you've just brought me back to. I was rambling there. That our navy is the most respected in the world. Was for a long time like these mad people who like find themselves on boats. We've bred the best of the best, haven't we?
We live on an island, so
Yeah.
Exactly.
helps.
So over years and
Yeah.
years, we fucking mastered this shit. Like we know how to train people to do this shit at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we've got the best navy in the
Yeah.
fucking world. Like, you know, not just random people who not. Because I guess at the point I'm trying to get to is if it's just random someone like me gets dragged onto it, who hasn't got this history of being trained and doesn't know, like, Jesus fuck, now we're on the we're bouncing through the sea. And I'm just going to be a ball of sick. I'm just going to be a useless puking. Terrified shithead, and guess what? We're going down because everyone else is like that too.
Well, one officer, to quote him, said, "One half of this lot needed to be taught everything because they know nothing, and the other half also needs to learn everything because they had forgotten everything."
She got his old piss cunts. I used to be a sailor. Can you remember how he did it? Who are you?
Joe Biden on that crew, mate.
He's that old, maybe.
Where am I? I just shit my pants. Oh, these poor fuckers. They've got no idea, have they?
Apparently Trump shits himself as well, doesn't he?
Well, he's 80, come on. And he probably done a lot of cock up the ass. I'm sorry, Donald, I didn't mean it.
Apparently his nickname was Diaper Don
Well, he you know...
when he did The Apprentice.
You've got to sit there for a long time, mate. Come on now.
Is that incontinence or just fucking smart?
Don't speak ill of the elderly. Exactly.
No, is
We're-
incontinence or
Yeah.
smart? I've got to sit here for a while. Give
I'm
me a diaper.
dedicated.
I'm
Get me a diet, get
Give
up
me a
this
diaper.
chair.
Someone can change me. Like that young attractive
He
intern can
probably-
change me.
Whether she wants to or
Yeah,
not.
you're changing me.
Apparently it was a combination of all the drugs and fast food that he
Well, yeah, that will make
Whoa.
it dribble out your bottom.
couldn't control it.
A consistent diet of American McDonald's, whiskey and whatever
No,
fucking
he doesn't drink, does he?
Oh, is he
He
famous
doesn't drink.
non-drinker?
He doesn't drink.
I bet he's on
brother was
a
alcoholic.
right fucking Catherine wheel of chemicals, though.
Oh yeah.
They all are Americans. All of them, even any American listeners now. I don't mean to offend you, but you sitting there thinking you're a normal American. You're on something. I know you are. You're all medicated to shit. We're not over here. It's mad. I know it's hard for you to think, but we're just not. Not to the
Not
level
as much,
they are.
not as much.
No. Well, we're not being given opioids.
Fuck yeah.
On a
well,
daily basis.
Our middle class society hasn't been ravaged by an unexpected fucking heroin dependency. Jesus.
Anyway, they do
Sorry,
make up
yeah.
a lot. They do make up 90% of our listeners.
Love you. I do. I love everything. I love is American. Pro wrestling, hot dogs, good music, freedom, smashing the fucking smaller countries. Yeah, more of our fucking yeah.
Bald eagles.
Yeah, bald eagles, mountain lions, fucking like truck drivers, fucking yeah, free bird, yeah, woo, America,
Route 66.
Route 66, Bud Light, fucking yeah, Kid Rock, woo.
You're an American badass.
I love it. I love it. Pickup trucks,
Do love me a pickup truck.
bull riding. Well, I don't want to ride it, but I watch people get smashed up. by
NASCAR.
a bull. NASCAR, baby.
I prefer NASCAR to Formula One.
NASCAR, Bud Light, and cheeseburgers, baby.
I'd be such a redneck.
Oh, mate, in my heart, I am a redneck.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
I want a pickup truck with a gun rack.
Just
You
imagine
put a
this
truck,
like
you
trailer-
put a trucker hat on, mate. You're one anyway.
Everyone says that when I have my hair down and a hat on. You look like a fucking trailer park boy. What you say? Right, so these trailer park fucking boys were suddenly thrown on boats.
You must be wondering why the mighty Baltic fleet was in such a terrible state. And that's probably because all the experienced crews are currently fighting for their lives in Port Arthur.
So they're already fucked.
Sent all their best guys out there, you're left with the dregs. Most of the officers assigned to Rochester-Sefti's command were not what you would call shining examples of professionalism, as many of them would literally sneak off to get drunk on shore.
Just your normal pirate.
Yeah. So by some miracle, on the 15th of October, the 2nd Pacific Squadron went to sea, and disaster would strike immediately when the flagship ran aground.
Leader again.
Is that just coming out of port?
Yeah. Yeah, literally. Then one of the escorting cruisers lost its anchor and chain and drifted away for a bit. And later in the day, one of the destroyers managed to ram one of the battleships, and they both had to return to port for repairs. Despite these minor issues...
Minor?
Minor. The fleet did eventually... This is minor compared to what happens.
Okay.
The fleet did eventually make it out of the Baltic Sea and follow the Danish coast. And that was when things got really interesting, as panicked sailors began to yell that they were all doomed, and the Japanese Navy was waiting to ambush them once they made it into the North Sea.
How'd they got wind of that?
Well, because
Carrier pigeon.
the UK is building other Japanese ships. And they think, oh my god, that means that the Japanese, the British have crash built an entire fleet of torpedo boats.
That's
and the
why the
Japanese have
first
shipped
lot of
their
fun-
crew, so shipped like a load of crews over, and they're waiting for us.
So they're probably... So this is how the first lot got fucked, because they're up against these, like, Tesla... fucking, you know, the equivalent modern day, the baddest ass warships you can get, basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, well,
So
you
that-
should have thought about that before you set off, you silly bastard.
Well, the thing is, it's really unlikely the Japanese are going to ship like 15,000 sailors around the globe, and the British have crash built them a fleet of ships.
But they're already
These
there,
things
though,
take
innit?
time.
The Japanese haven't got to travel 15,000
No, they're waiting over in Japan.
Exactly,
They're fine.
they're already there.
But
Just
the Russian fleet thinks the Japanese are ambushed them at every point along
right.
this route.
Oh, okay, they're
They're
coming.
paranoid.
Why wouldn't they just sit there? Oh, right, they're like me at the moment.
The display bad seamanship carried on, with the Russians damaging the Danish coal ships that had been contracted to supply them. After numerous collisions, Rochester was forced to open fire on one of his own support ships after it refused to follow the signals,
Jesus
and in the
Christ.
end it was forced to return home.
So now they're blowing each other up.
Yeah, this happens a lot too. Spoiler alert. So more rumours began to circulate among the crews about a possible Japanese attack, and to remedy this, Rochester gave an order that absolutely no vessel of any sort was allowed to enter where the fleet's sailing. Don't let them in.
Okay.
They're in convoy, yeah? This would end up biting in the ass, as no sooner than given the order, a fishing vessel began to approach the squadron, and the already panicked crews began to open fire on
For
it.
fuck's sake.
Apparently there's a Swedish fishing ship sent out by the Tsar to give Rochester the news he'd been promoted.
And they shot
Right.
it to shit.
No, they didn't. They missed. They missed so badly, the captain of this Swedish fishing ship had no idea he was being fired on.
He just gets a hello, old
Hello,
chap.
who's the shooting at you? Have
I've
you?
been trying to kill you for half an hour.
The only thing that saved them was the aim of the gunners was absolutely horrid. And then it didn't help that during this time the
They
fleet.
don't know what they're doing.
Their aim was horrid. It wasn't bad. It was horrid.
No, it didn't help that during this time the repair ship, the Kamchatka, had radioed that it was being attacked by Japanese torpedo boats, and when asked how many, the vessel replied, about 8 from all directions.
Oh, God.
This ship will become your favourite as it goes on.
Right.
Okay.
Because when they asked them, hey, where did those torpedo boats go? They went, oh, we made a turn and they went away.
Oh, fuck.
Eventually, the 2nd Pacific Squadron made it into the North Sea, which is where Britain likes to extend its influence. And things would hopefully improve. And then the Dogger Bank incident happened. Dogger Bank. It's just off the coast of Hull.
If you're an American who doesn't know what dogging is, I urge you to Google UK dogging. You can thank me later. I'm not saying you have to participate, but you can thank me for its discovery.
Oh God, what if we're responsible for spreading dogging to the US?
You know.
Oh,
I've
well, that's a
spread it
claim
round
to fame.
Shropshire. No, I'm joking.
I'm sure they're enlightened listeners and they know.
Yes,
It's
that's
quite
true.
a specific UK thing, you know.
How is it?
Yeah.
Dogging, yeah. Other countries have tried to.
Adopt it.
It's just not the same because they're not like fat blokes covered in links.
Lynx Africa, the smell of despair.
That's my favourite one. Honestly, that's my
They should make
favourite.
a Lynx Britain where you smell of cigarettes and despair.
Links Britain.
Stale lager.
Still lager, cigarettes and despair. That's what it smells of. But at this point, we're great.
With a hint,
Yeah.
with a hint of racism.
Hey,
But only a hint.
with a hint of some cunt gets a guitar out and starts playing Wonderwall. It's coming up.
No! That's bad fucking luck. We're not doing that anymore. It's
Oh,
bad luck.
It's a bit banned.
It's-
I have noticed a distinct
Lack of it's coming home.
people being encouraged or even asked because that performance has just sludged them into. I tried watching it with my housemate. We both ended up asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, it was rancid. Sorry, but back then, you're right, Ben. Back then, we were fucking masterful.
Yes.
We built the best shit on the planet. We were the best. We were the hardest, the most poetic, the most expressive, the best, and I dare say the most handsome.
Woof.
Yeah, I said it.
Well, I don't see a problem in all
No.
fairness.
How far we've fallen.
Yeah, I know. Fuck. But back then we were somebody's.
Yeah, so we're just off the coast of Hull on the Dogger Bank where the British fishing trawler fleet is sailing out of Hull. Now this slow-moving, well-lit flotilla of fishing vessels with their vicious fishing nets were easily confused for fast-moving Japanese torpedo
Oh, it was
boats.
sarcastic.
And as expected, the Russian fleet opened fire in a panic.
Oh, God.
It was absolute chaos as shells began to rain down on the fishing fleet, and Russian vessels began to report they'd been hit by torpedoes.
What?
They've been hit by themselves.
Some Russian sailors began to draw life vests and were laying down on the deck or
God.
jumping into the sea, thinking they were sinking, while other men on other ships, guys got cutlasses and pistols and ran around the ship screaming they were being boarded. But at least this time,
Was it got in their bread?
there could have been, there fucking could have been. But this time around, the Russian battleships were able to score hits on a number of trawlers. They sank one and damaged 4 more. But they also managed to score hits on the Russian cruisers Aurora and Dmitry Donskoy,
Jesus
killing
Christ.
a sailor and a priest on board the Aurora.
It's not a good omen, is it?
The only one who seemed to realise they were not fighting the Japanese was Vice Admiral Roshesvesky, and he was eventually able to get his fleet to stop attacking the British fishing boats.
Oh, God.
He had to fight. What they did, he had to fire his searchlights into the sky, which is a signal like to stop fucking firing.
Right, okay. Jesus, but like, so my knowledge of history is not that great, but I imagine that 1904 British Empire was none too pleased.
It does not take too kindly to this
No.
unprovoked attack on a fishing fleet
Just-
in its own territory. Well, not far out of its own territorial waters.
Perfectly innocent fishermen minding their business,
Well,
fishing for the Queen.
the
for the
British press screams for war against Russia.
Yeah.
And because they find it hard to believe the incident was accidental, with one news outlet saying, and to quote them, "It is almost inconceivable that any men calling themselves seamen, however frightened they may be, could spend 20 minutes bombarding a fleet of fishing boats without discovering the nature of their
They
targets."
had no
They
idea,
know.
did they? They had no idea, did they?
No,
No, these aren't seamen. They're fucking Mongols from the fields.
you know
They're
what?
like-
You're not even. That's not even a slur of any kind. They
Well,
probably are
yeah.
from Mongolia.
I probably should have said Mongol, but you know what I mean. Boo.
I signed up for the boat.
Yes. Well, you're being forced to go to the
They've
boat.
never even seen a fucking boat.
They've come to get you at your little village where you're herding yaks and said, you're in the Navy now, son.
Look, this is my point earlier before we were on mic about military training. It may, strip you of your humanity, but on another level, it also teaches you respect for command. There's a structure.
Yep.
There's a fucking system. Someone's in charge. Orders are being passed down. You understand that if this person's told that person and that person tells me, then I have to do this. Right?
It's simple.
It's ingrained in them. And it makes sense. A top down, it's how it works. They're running around like headless fucking Russian chickens.
And of course,
We're sinking, they're pirates! We're sinking, they're on board! What, who are you? What? Ah! What? It wouldn't be happening on a British boat. I bet even them fishing boats were more organised.
I bet they went, oh, we're being fired upon, eh?
We're being fired upon. They must be confused, those silly Russians. Well, let's enter reverse as quickly as possible.
There's none of this ill discipline in the British Navy. Probably some of them blokes had probably been
Oh,
Royal
how
Navy
uncouth.
sailors, so...
Yeah.
How uncouth. Well, I'm sure they'll get their comeuppance.
Well, they nearly do. Because while the British press is screaming for war with Russia,
The son of the day,
the son of the
1904.
day, the
Smash the
1904
Russian
son,
scum.
smash the Russians. It's not long before Royal Navy cruiser squadrons begin to show up and shadow the Russian fleet, while the entire Channel Fleet, which was larger than the entire Russian Navy, just our Channel Fleet, is
Right.
larger than these three
This
Russian
entire-
fleets combined.
The big 42.
And that's not even our own. That's not even one fleet. It's the Channel Fleet.
That's just to protect us from the French.
Yes, pretty much. Just to ward off those Frenchies should they get too uppity.
Look at all the things we've built.
Yeah.
Yeah, your food is so much better, but we're making death machines and eating mashed potato and loving it.
I love a mashed potato.
God, I love this country.
Well,
This story's making me, even though it's not about us, I'm just seeing
you've
how
got a
shit they were.
patriotic card on. I can see it from here.
How shit they were back then, and we're just the lords of the manor. We're the Jedis back then. We're going, yeah, go on, fly your little
Gaz,
fleet, you fucking fannies.
You'll love this bit even more.
Oh, come on, mate.
Right.
Whoa,
So-
I'm excited.
Worse still, the Mediterranean fleet was also mobilised to a station in Gibraltar, and their idea is we're just going to catch the Russians in a pincer and fucking destroy them.
The classic
Even-
pincer movement.
Exactly. Although, in the end, various furious diplomatic signalling between London and Moscow averted the war, and cooler heads prevailed. Although the Lord Beresford of the Royal Navy proposed that he would make it a fair fight by only engaging the Russian fleet with 4 of his battleships.
Oh.
Noting just how terrible the squadron's accuracy was, as shown during the Dogger Bank incident, holding the rest of his fleet in reserve just in case any vessels were hit. He thought it was a bit more chivalrous to just use 4 Royal Navy battleships to sink these uppity Russians.
There's 42 of them, or what, was it
Yeah.
40 something, wasn't it? And they've probably lost a few by this point, just
A
through
couple have gone home at
fucking
least.
idiocy or sinkage. And we 7-4. Yeah.
No, we had the entire Channel Fleet there that outnumbered them anyway. But
But
Bear
we
was just like,
decide-
I'll just use 4 to make
Exactly,
it a fair
yeah,
fight.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Like,
how good we fucking
were.
were.
Right, calm down, gentlemen.
I can't help it, because 40 years after this, my actual granddad was on a fucking ship, firing a fucking thing,
Yeah, my
doing stuff.
great uncle was on King George V in World War II.
Right. I'll get one day,
So-
Ben. It's in my mum and dad's house somewhere. He's got an actual. Someone must have made it for him, but you get like a certificate, don't you? Passing out, like,
Yeah.
and because it's old, it's beautiful, but it's in a frame with the name of the ship he was on and everything. And he's got 4 medals. But like I said, I'm not fucking daft. I don't think my fucking granddad was a war hero. 4 medals. I think 3 of those are not dying.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years, 15. you
Service
passed out.
medals.
Yeah, basically, but still, he's still fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He did it, man.
Yeah.
And like we've said before, haven't we, but us fucking I don't put words in your mouth, boys, but I wouldn't be very good on a warship.
I wouldn't like to be on a warship.
I wouldn't be very useful to you unless maybe I could clean.
I'm not a sailor.
Nope.
No.
Not for me. But yeah, we'll just use 4 because these boys are so shit. I think it'd be unfair if I used the entire fleet.
Because we're fucking awesome.
And to end this part, we're going to do this as a 2-parter. I'll read the last part. Then, Commission of Inquiry will be launched into the end, and Rochesvesky would be cleared as the Commission believed the Russian admiral did everything he could to stop his vessels from firing on the fishing vessels, while the Russian government willingly paid compensation of £66,000, which is quite a fair chunk at the time, to the fishermen that were involved. The immediate aftermath was indeed a diplomatic nightmare for the Russian government, and Rochesvesky was ordered to dock at the Spanish port of Vigo, where he proceeded to leave behind a number of officers he believed were responsible for the incident.
Not even halfway round.
Nope.
He also used his protocol to remove one Captain Clado, who was more or less not well liked by the Admiral, mainly because Clado had done nothing but complain about the way Rochesvesky was commanding the fleet, and the two officers had almost come to blows a few days before the incident. Clado would eventually return to haunt his former commander, as he was ordered to return to St. Petersburg to organise reinforcements for the Second Pacific Squadron. So they're scraping together whatever they've got now.
Are you mental?
It's going to be the Third Pacific Squadron, also known as the Sink by Yourself Squadron.
Who was in charge of Lemming?
Apparently so. So while the Russian fleet had almost managed to start a war with the British Empire, the Kamchatka, remember that one?
Yeah.
Managed to almost start a war with half of Europe. As the supply vessel opened fire on ships belonging to France, Sweden and Germany, claiming that all three vessels were Japanese warships,
They just shoot at everything they come across.
and had fired 300 shells in self-defence. When they've got no ammunition to training, they've just got enough for the battle. They fired 300 shells.
These
So-
stupid cunts didn't know where Japan was, did they?
No.
No.
How far away they were from it was
They're
they?
in Spain.
It's Sweden! It's Japan! It's Germany! It's oh, it's the other side of the... What the...
The Kamchatka became my favourite ship during this.
This could have been World War One before World
Yeah.
War One, couldn't it?
It effectively was the first modern war, yeah. One of the first modern wars.
international, like...
Actually,
well, not international.
the Franco-Prussian War, probably.
Multinational,
This was
maybe.
certainly, like, it's the Russians versus... The Russians, an established established power in Europe,
Maybe one of
versus
the
the
first-
upstart Japanese.
One of the first industrial wars, then, maybe.
Yes.
Because of the ships and
The
stuff.
Russians weren't industrial at this point.
But
They
no,
were
I mean,
trying.
Isn't coal-powered ships
Yeah.
industrial?
They were transitioning slowly.
Yeah. So that's where I
That's
think...
where. So when we come to when we record part 2, this one of the 44 strong fleet has almost caused the First World War before the concept of a world war was even a thing.
Yeah.
It's nearly got Russia into war with 4 major European powers, and they're only at Spain.
Just by being shit at sailing and shitting yourself, basically. It's the Japanese!
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
This is
fantastic.
amazing.
It is, isn't
I
it?
can't wait to hear the end of this, honestly.
I've never
I've
heard
loved
of it
this.
until Ben brought it to my attention, but it's fantastic.
Me neither. It's amazing to because you think of the Russians as being so like just even like omnipresent throughout history, just a powerful force, you know.
Yeah.
But like to think of them being that
It's because they're so fast, isn't it? That's where the
arrogant
power
and
comes from.
stupid and uneducated on ships, not knowing what the British are up to, baby. Woo!
Well, the phrase, as I said earlier, that could be my catchphrase at the show, this particular 2 episodes where, and then it got worse, which I think sums up Russian history.
Yeah.
It's
pretty
not
much-
looking great today.
And
is
then
it?
it got worse. It's like it's gone to this. So you go from the Tsar, and then it got worse. You end up with Stalin via Lenin, and then it kind of got worse because you had a more economic hardship through the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
We're so
and then
lucky.
it got worse because you got democracy, and then you end up with Putin.
You got an oligarchy.
Well, we're so lucky that we got our Lenin and they got their Lenin. Do you know what I mean? Our Lenin did a lot more for...
Oh yeah, well John Lennon.
Yeah, the British Lenin.
Yeah.
He was brilliant.
Was a wife beater though.
Fucking, they all are. But look, I'm not, and neither are you, so
That's
that's all
true.
that matters.
Mainly because we're not married.
That sounds wrong.
If we were...
I'd be wearing a vest right now.
Why, to the moon, Alice!
One of these days, Alice.
One of these
Right
days,
to the
why
moon.
are you on it?
Pow, right to the kisser.
We'd all be sat here in vests and flat caps.
I can't even remember what that's from, but I know it's
The
from
Honeymooners. It's the American sitcom, isn't it?
just
Yeah.
fucking popped me down. Pow! Right in the kisser.
Well, that was some Family Guy too.
Oh, I'm sorry. We would never do.
No.
We
No,
just-
Gentlemen.
we're enlightened English gentlemen.
Look, we haven't got the biggest listener base in the world, but we've got a little loyal one. You know, our humour's sick. And if you're a random person, welcome. Because that one random person, what city was that a few months ago, just went mental and downloaded everything.
Oh God, so we're in Canada.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was that one city
Yeah.
where it went nuts? But yeah, so, this is us.
Exactly. And I think we'll end it there, gentlemen.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to hearing the end of the story, dude.
So thank you very much for listening. I've been Ben. Remember that do as thou wilt, but that love is the law.
I've been Mike. Thanks for listening. Peace out. May the force be with you.
What's
I know.
happened to him?
I
What's
know.
he on about? Love?
I bought the fucking. You see the photo I sent you because we're gonna redo Crowley.
Right.
I bought all
Some
4
books.
magical books
Oh, no.
of Crowley in one glorious hardback magical tome. I'm gonna bring it next time. You'll see it. You're just like, oh, man, that looks magic.
Full of
So
absolute
I'm reading it.
bollocks.
Well, at least he wasn't stealing kids, you Jedi fucking child snatcher.
How dare you? Right. Look, everybody calm down. There's been harsh words being thrown around. I've got to do my sign off. Free Biff Tannen. Oh, I have been, guys. Free Biff Tannen. Chut chut.
Chuk chuk.
Chut chut. It's for what Anakin says to that, that thing in episode 1. Chut chut.
Fucking hell. Yeah.
It's from Rebel
It's a
Force
random
Radio.
quote.
If you call into Rebel Force Radio, you say chut chut instead of hello. I'm sorry. It's a reference to another pod. Bye!